this looking for a lot of resources and running after a lot of teachers and seniors, these are not only frustrating but also a lot of waste of time, right? So that is when we felt that there was a need for a platform like this. And this MBBS curriculum is the foundation. This is the basic knowledge that you are going to need to become a doctor as well as for your postgraduate entrance examination. So it's not that you can just start solving MCQs and you can just start preparing for your final for your NEET PG entrance examination by skipping this final year or this final year of MBBS. So you have to know these subjects properly. You have to understand the concepts of these subjects properly before you even start preparation for your final university examination. That is for your NEET PG entrance examination. And that is why we are trying to provide you with this basic foundation knowledge so that even during the preparation year for your NEET PG exam, you feel you are at ease and you feel that you at least know the concepts. Maybe you just need to brush up them. Maybe you just need to revise some parts and solve the MCQs, right? So another thing is that we at Surgipedia believe that education should be available at all times, should be available for all, and it should be available at an affordable price as well. It should not be too much expensive or costly for the students. And taking all of these into consideration, we have tried to develop this platform of Surgipedia. Now, this year has been quite different, and I think you people are quite unfortunate that in your final year, you are not being able to attend the college. And the most important part in final year is the wards and the clinical postings. So to gain knowledge regarding the skills and the clinical postings, there is no alternative to wards and clinical postings. But, well, we can't help it if these things remain closed. So let me talk about how to go about this year, how to survive this year, and how to learn efficiently even while staying at home. Because I think a lot of you have this question in mind that your colleges have been closed maybe for 2 to 3 months. So how are you going to prepare for MBBS examination? Because it's a lot of, it's based on a lot of practical stuff, and it's mainly based on clinical methods. It's mainly based on patients and clinical findings. So the thing is that to sharpen your skills and to gain knowledge about clinical exams, you don't always need a patient. So this thing you need to keep it in mind. And I have discussed about this thing in a lot of my videos as well, that you can practice clinical methods, you can practice eliciting history, conducting general survey, conducting examination on your friends, on your relatives, siblings, family members, whoever you find. Okay, and definitely they are going to allow you to conduct physical examination as well. For example, you want to learn how to palpate the liver. So for that, you don't need a patient with liver disease, do you? Because the general mechanism of palpating the liver is the same for a patient of liver disease, and it's the same for a patient who doesn't have liver disease. For example, if you palpate on me, you are going to do it in the same way as you are going to palpate on a patient with liver disease. And believe it or not, in your final examination, the examiners look at the methods. They don't pay much attention to the findings. So if you are correct with your methods, and even if you miss maybe mild hepatomegaly and you say that the liver is not palpable, it's a less discredit than not being able to palpate the liver at all. And that is why you need to acquire these skills, and anything that requires skill requires practice. You can take anything as an example. So for example, driving, for example, swimming, cycling, whatever it is, it takes practice, right? And you can practice this very well at your home, right? So you can practice on anyone you find suitable. And if it's your friend, if it's your classmate, then he is also a student, so he can also assess you in a better fashion, that whether you have made a mistake or whether you are doing it correctly, and you people can interchange being the doctor and patient. Even in history, you can make someone a simulated patient. These things happen in the Western world. They have simulated patients, and they even conduct exams on these simulated patients. They are not real patients. In our country, we are lucky that we tend to examine on real patients even in the exams. But in a lot of countries, in a lot of Western countries, they use simulated patients. but don't they learn? They also learn. For example, say not only in surgery, for example, in obstetrics also, if you want to practice the pelvic grips, you don't always need a pregnant woman. Yes, definitely that is going to be the best method. But even if you have non-pregnant woman, or even a man of, okay, even a man would do, you can sort of practice at least placing the hand, how it is going to be done, whether it's the right hand, whether it's the left hand, because these are a lot of confusing things in pelvic grips. At least I found them very confusing in my final year. So if you say practice pelvic grips say 10 times on your friend, or if on any family member or a sibling, then you are bound to do it correctly in the exam, right? So a lot of you might be thinking that how you are going to acquire skills, how you are going to acquire clinical examination skills and everything by sitting at home. This is how you can do. Even percussion, do you know, I used to practice percussion on pillows, because pillows are full of air and they produce a very good resonant sound, so you know that you are percussing correctly. So you can try out various objects and see how they respond to your percussion. In that way you are going to be good in percussion, because there are a lot of factors involved. For example, I'm just giving an example of percussion here. In percussion you need to move your joint, that is, you need to move from the wrist joint. You need this movement needs to come from the wrist joint, like playing a piano. You should not move the whole of your hand or the elbow joint. So these things you can learn sitting at your home, and these things you can practice on anyone or on anything. So this is my tip for this year. Especially, I'm not discouraging anyone to go to the practicals. As soon as the college opens, please visit the wards, please visit your clinical postings, because there is no alternative to actually learning from a real patient, actually learning instruments from the OT itself, actually learning the operative procedures from the OT itself. And this I have mentioned in a lot of different places in my videos as well. So now let's talk about your final MBBS examination as such. So let me just show you something. So as you know, your final MBBS examination consists of theory and practical. In theory, you mainly have surgery and orthopedics and anesthesia and super specialty. These things are usually asked as short notes. In a lot of university examination, the amount of marks allotted to orthopedics varies from 30 to 50 on an average. The main bulk is that of surgery, and surgery usually consists of two papers. In practicals, you have clinical case presentations, which form the majority of your practical exams. They form the bulk, so you need to focus on them more. And we also have the tables, that is the instruments, the surgical specimens, the operatives, the surgical anatomy, and radiology. In radiology, you are usually asked about x-rays. So this is how the final MBBS exam is conducted. And let me just tell you how Surgipedia is going to help you in this, in your preparation for final MBBS exam. So in our app in Surgipedia, we have different sections. We have theory. In theory, we have surgery, we have orthopedics, we have anesthesia. We have 3 sections. And below each video of theory, we have included something known as FAQs. What are FAQs? Frequently asked questions. These frequently asked questions we have compiled from university exams across the world. So, in any subject, be it, the medical science, be it engineering, be it law, whatever be it, there are a few favorites of the examiners. There are a few favorites for the examiners, and these questions tend to get repeated year after year. So for example, in appendix, you should never skip appendicular mass or appendicular lump, because that has been an examiner's favorite, and and there's high chance that it would be asked in your exam as well. So that is how we have compiled all the university questions, both long and short questions for theory. And we have also included some future probable questions. These future probable questions have been included keeping in mind the new questions that can get asked in your exam or in the coming years. So that is about theory. In practicals, we have sections on history and clinical examinations. We have sections on instruments and operatives. We have section on specimen, and we have and surgical anatomy I have discussed with theory when we begin discussion on any topic. We have radiology as well. So And we have another feature in the app, that is the doubt box. This doubt box have been incorporated to allow you to ask academic doubts only. Please keep that in mind. Other doubts go into the email or WhatsApp, but academic doubts, suppose you have studied one topic and you would found that topic, that subtopic also listed above the doubt box. So you can just select that topic, or it can be miscellaneous or others as well, and you can ask any academic doubt, and we would try our best to answer that within, say, 2 to 3 working days. Okay. So that is another feature which we have in our app. So next, we would like to discuss about some future developments and some features that we want to add down the line, so that it helps you in preparation for your final MBBS exam in a better fashion. Everything needs improvement, right? And we have also done some improvements throughout this past 2 months. So I would now like to hand over this platform to Shoham to discuss about our future developments and the developments that we have done till now.
Thank you, Anthony. Hello, everybody. I hope you all are sound and safe and studying and really enjoying using our app. So I'm Soham. I'm a part of the Surgipedia development team. So I would quickly like to take you through the developments which we have done recently in the past 2 months, and also the developments in the app which we are looking at in the coming days. So one thing I would like to reiterate over here is that we are constantly trying to improve our user experience and develop our app based on all your feedback. So what we have done is we have included a quality control and a speed control, which would definitely improve your experience of the Surgipedia app. A few of the developments which we are looking at in the coming few months, in the next uh, few months, is number one, we are planning on introducing mock theory and mock viva. So basically what will happen is that we will release a mock question paper for the mock theory part, and you'll have to write the answers and you have to scan and send it across to our academic team. We'll evaluate and mark those answers, and we'll send it over to you. I mean, we'll mail it back to you. And we are also planning on introducing a mock online mock viva sessions along a similar fashion. The next development we are looking at is introducing some study notes, which will be along the similar lines to the videos which are already there in the app. So the notes will be in PDF format as well as in printed format as well. Next is we are also planning on introducing some live OT videos, which will give you a better insight into the structures, procedures, and steps which are followed during a live surgery. So that will definitely be a good value addition, in our opinion. Next is we are also planning on introducing a download button where you can download some of the videos at a time offline, so that even if you do not have good network or internet connection, you can watch those videos at your convenience at a later point of time. Another development which we are looking at in the next period is timestamp. So basically, it will be introduced so that you can refer to a certain section of a subtopic at a later point of time, so that when you're revising a particular topic, you don't have to again find that particular subtopic and go over there and refer to it. So timestamps are a really useful method of revising and referring to a particular subtopic. So these are few developments which we are looking at right now. Obviously, we are in a process of continuous development, and we take into consideration your feedback very seriously. And I'm sure you'll enjoy studying with the Surgipedia. So thank you all for your time. And I would like to hand over the platform now to Dr. Antri and Dr. Shrija, will be taking your questions. So some of you have already sent some questions at the time of registering for this live session. So they will be discussing those questions. Over to you, Anturi. Over to you, Shrija.
Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. So now we are going to discuss some of the questions that you guys had sent in via the registration form. Now, we did get quite a few questions. So, what we have done is that we have clubbed the similar type of questions. And so, I'll be reading out the questions to Dr. Anturip and he'll give you the answers. So, the first question is how to start surgery. And at this time of crisis, when we are not allowed live surgery lectures, what is our best way to study on our own? And how can we study surgery in an easy way during home quarantine? And another question which is associated with the same topic is what books should we follow for surgery, both theory as well as practical?
Hi, so I think a lot of you have these questions in mind. That is how to start studying surgery, which books to refer to, and especially how to study surgery during this period. So how to study surgery and practicals during this period, I have already discussed in the session. How to start studying surgery is that you should start from the practicals because number one, they are more interesting, and number two, in final MBBS examination, it is the practicals that become difficult, and you won't realize this now, but when you are maybe 1 month away from the exam or maybe 2 weeks away from the exam, during that time it's the practicals that become really trouble for us, for students also. And that is why you should start your preparation with the practicals. And as I've said, the patients can be your relatives, it can be your friends, so I've discussed that part already. Now regarding what books to study, yes, it's an important question. Now Bailey and Love is considered to be the standard textbook for undergraduate surgery, but well, it's a very good book for concepts, and I personally had studied the book throughout my whole year for building up the concepts. You can study it just like a storybook, and you'll find that very interesting. The writing, the writing skills and the way of presentation is also very good in Bailey and Love. So definitely you can use that book to clear your concepts. You don't need to go through everything that is written in Bailey and Love at your level. So some of it are reserved for postgraduates also. So that is good for concept building. Now for your exams, particularly for your exams, maybe 1 to 2 months or maybe 3 months, it depends on you when you start revision. So during revision, I would not recommend studying Bailey and Love, because writing answers from books like Bailey and Love can be quite difficult, because those are mainly for building concepts. So in your exam, you just need to write in a very short manner, and you present in a very lucid and easy fashion. So there are some books like SRB's surgery, then Manipal Manual of Surgery. So these are books which are good for the exams. Of course, they are not the gold standard. It is Bailey and Love which is the gold standard. But for your exams, before your exams, you should refer to those books for writing the answers. And another thing is that if you are using Surgipedia and if you are taking down notes, then you can also refer to your notes to form a basic structure of your answer, and then you can reproduce it in the exam. I think it would be sufficient enough to score good marks in your exam. So let's take up the next question, Shriya.
Right. So the next question is, would reading ESDAS be sufficient for practical exams, or do we also need to read ML Shaha?
Okay. So ESTASH is a very good book for clinical examinations. It is one of the standard textbooks. It is referred to as a standard textbook all across India for clinical examination. But the thing is that you have a lot of other things in your practical examination also, like instruments, specimens, operatives, radiology, and a lot of other things which have been beautifully covered and compiled in ML Shaha. So definitely I would recommend studying ML Shaha for exams, that is for the practicals. But it's not that you should not study ESTASH. You should study ML Shaha as well, especially for the other parts. So let's take up the next question now.
Next question is how to prepare for final MB practicals during this lockdown. I think you've already answered that question. And how to study clinically in this era of lockdown. How can we learn surgery without practicing it? Because as undergraduates, we cannot get involved in practical surgery.
Okay, so interesting question. The thing is that as undergraduates, you are not involved in anything in the real world, right? Because you are what? You are undergraduate. So undergraduates, will not be involved in real things, in real practice. It's not only about surgery, it's about medicine, it's about gynae, it's about pedi, eye, ENT, whatever clinical subjects or even non-clinical subjects. You don't do the work yourself, right? So at this stage, you have to refer to the books, you have to refer to other resources, other teachers, your seniors and everything, and try to develop concept and try to learn or increase your knowledge. It is not expected that you would be involved in surgical practice as of now. So let's move on to the next question.
So the next question is, what steps should be followed and what are the common pitfalls for most students?
Okay, so the steps to be followed, like I have discussed this in my introductory video in the app as well. So there's a video called Introduction to Surgery. It's in the first section of surgery. So there I have talked about this, but I am just telling you briefly about this here also. So basically what you need to do is, this holds true for every subject. Suppose you watch a video of surgery. I'm just giving an example of surgery here. Suppose you start a video, you watch a video on surgery. Suppose you watch a video on appendix. So you watch a video on appendix, maybe at, I would recommend watching it at 1x if you are taking down notes, or 1.25x if you just want to know what appendix is about. It's up to you. So after watching the video, we have this FAQ section below each video. So you can have a look at that, and there you would get an idea of the questions that are usually asked from the topic of appendix. So by that, you get an idea of what you should actually learn in appendix. So after that, what you should do is you should refer to the notes that you have taken, or you should refer to a standard textbook. You can refer to Bailey and Love because you are studying now. It's not the exam is not nearby, so you can refer to books like Bailey and Love, and then you can build up the concepts of appendix from there. Now, so you are done with the first studying of appendix. Now when you revise, it can be after a month, before maybe a short exam of your college, or it can be after 6 months also. That depends on a lot of factors. Once you revise, during that time you can do two things. Either you can watch the video at 1.25 or 1.5 to just go through the concepts once more, or you can study the textbook again, because since you have studied since you had studied the textbook one time, this time it won't be that difficult, as much difficult as the first time. The second thing about the pitfalls is that you should not ignore any subject in your final year. The thing is that medicine and surgery, they form so much bulk in final year that we tend to neglect gynecology, obstetrics, and pediatrics. But believe it or not, these subjects, tend to be really painful before the exam. And not only, and all of us, including me, have faced this problem, and we have regretted that why we did not pay equal attention to subjects like obs, gynae, and pediatrics. I had thought that okay, pediatrics is nothing but a short form of medicine, but it's not, right? If it was a short form of medicine, then medical practitioners would have been pediatricians as well, right? It's not the case. So pediatrics is a separate separate specialty. Obs gynae is a huge separate specialty, and it's a very important part of life as well. Like that is life, that is how we are born. So you should not ignore obs gynae at all. A lot of students tend to ignore that because they don't like the subject. There's nothing to like a subject or dislike a subject. You have to, as an MBBS, you have to know some things about all the subjects, right? And for your exams also, you need to pass in all the subjects. And believe it or not, these short subjects, because you ignored them from the beginning of the session, they tend to pile up at the end of your academic session. And these subjects ultimately cause fear, ultimately cause anxiety before the exams. Medicine and you already know that medicine and surgery is going to give you anxiety, right? You know this from maybe first year. You have heard that medicine and surgery will give you sleepless nights. It's going to give you palpitation. But no one talks about gynecology, no one talks about pediatrics, and even in the previous years, no one talks about ophthalmology. These things can really be troublesome if you don't study them properly. So pay equal attention to a lot of subjects and don't waste your time on unimportant topics. This is another thing that I want to address. In final year, what happens is that when we venture into this clinical world, we come across a lot of exotic stuff. Okay, and what happens is we get attracted to these exotic stuff, exotic syndromes, okay, which never occur in real life. Maybe it occurs in maybe say 20 out of 20,000 people, or even more than that, 20 out of 200 million people. But these things are written in the textbook for the sake of completion, because the textbooks are the ultimate reference for anything in the world, right? Medical, legal, or anything. So that is why the textbooks mention these exotic topics. For example, you might find things like Tangiers disease also, but these things, I think only 16 cases have been found so far in the world, right? So what happens is that in at this stage in final year, when we are excited to just become a doctor, we think that, okay, I know Tangiers disease, but my friend doesn't. This doesn't help. So let us be very practical here. This doesn't help. Why does it not help? Because number one, it won't be asked in the exam. The final MBBS exam and the curriculum has been designed to ask students about the most common things, because that is what you are going to face as a doctor in your clinical practice. So there is no role of that. And secondly, you won't face these kinds of diseases and syndromes in your real life. Maybe you just face one or two of them. And it's not worth ignoring the important topics for these unimportant and exotic topics. So that is a warning that I want to give you as a senior. Okay, so this a lot of students tend to make these mistakes. They study unnecessary things in final year and waste a lot of time. So now let's move on to our next question.
So the next question is, what are the most important topics for theory exams?
Okay, so this question all students want to ask, and we as a students also, we always ask questions like this: what are the important topics? Before the exam, we used to go to some seniors, and maybe some of the students used to get their books marked by seniors. Please mark the important topics, I want to only study them. The thing is that once you study, and once you have a look at the past questions, and once you study yourself a topic maybe once or twice, you yourself would be able to judge what an important topic is. For example, if you study say breast, you know that carcinoma of breast is the most important topic there, right? Mondo's disease, maybe not so much. I'm not saying please don't study Mondo's disease, but if you have to prioritize, you yourself know that carcinoma of breast is going to be the most important topic in breast. In appendix, appendicitis, appendicular lump is going to be more important than maybe uh, pseudomyxoma peritoni or something like that, or mucocele, something like that. So you have an idea of what important topic is as you progress through the year. So before the exam, you yourself will be able to judge and able to gauge what important topics are. And the second thing is that you can have a look at the FAQs, because they contain the most important topics. And definitely, I am confident that one of you, more than one of course, would get a question or more than one question from the FAQ in your exam, because it has been combined after doing a lot of research, after going through a lot of university questions, and also we have included new questions that may come in the future exams. So that is why FAQ section is very important, and it is also important to gauge the important topics for theory exams. For other subjects, you can look up past university questions. They are available, I think, in all colleges. So this is it. So now let's move on to the next question.
I think that's all for now. Those were the questions that were sent to us via the registration form. And we don't have any more questions. So I think that will be it for now.
Okay, so I request the participants to type any question that you may want to ask. So this last part of the session, it's sort of open to all. So you can start typing in the questions. We would wait for a few minutes to get the questions. Another thing that I want to say is that we have recorded this session so far. So if you have joined a bit late, maybe you have joined at 6:30 or something, so the recording will be made available to all of you who had participated in this session. So, please don't be bothered if you have come in late. We would send it to you after this session gets over. Thank you. So if anyone has any questions, please type them in the chat box. Okay, so one question is that regarding other subjects, concept building in other subjects, and studying for exams regarding other subjects as well. So for medicine, I would recommend Davidson. That's a very good book. And believe it or not, the examiners actually expect you to write the tables and charts that are given in Davidson. So you should go through Davidson for your medicine. Regarding writing answers in medicine, I know it's a bit difficult, but in medicine there's a advantage. There's an advantage that if you have a good concept, you can write the answers according to your own wish. The problem with surgery is that there are a lot of classifications, TNM classifications, other classifications, then pathology discussions. So these things are quite factual, and you can't write them conceptually. So you need to maybe refer to books like SRB and Monipal for that. But for medicine, if you have the concept from Davidson, and if you have the concept from your wards and clinical postings, then you can easily write any answer of medicine. For example, ascites as a short note. So you know what ascites is. It is an accumulation of fluid in the peritoneal cavity. So you begin like that, and then you move on to the clinical features, then you move on to the investigations. Causes, of course, is very important, and then you move on to the management. Now, in a lot of cases, both in surgery as well as in the other subjects, a lot of management is investigation, the management of the cause. So you need to know about the causes and write the relevant management. In gynecology, the standard textbook is DC Datta's Obstetrics and Gynecology, but that book I personally found it to be really hard. So if you are finding that quite tough managing DC Datta, then you can study Dr. Puneet Bhojani's book as well, and you can use other books for practicals in gynae. And in pediatrics, OP Ghai's book, it's the best for pediatrics. You just need one book in pedi, that is OP Ghai's book. So this was a question that had come in regarding other subjects. And I would not recommend studying Harrison Nelson in final year. As I've mentioned, these things, they sound exotic, they feel exciting, and maybe you can boast about this thing that you are studying Harrison for medicine. But it's not only useless, it's more than useless, and it's a stupid thing to do, to study things like Harrison and Nelson in final year. And another thing, please keep this in mind: everything has its own timeline, right? So for example, in class 2, we hadn't studied about differential calculus because the curriculum is designed in such a way that maturity, our brain in class 2 can take up only that much which is required in class 2. So maintain that thing, maintain how we have been studying so far. So it's not that in final year you suddenly have to become MD medicine or MS surgery. So this is one thing that had come in. If we have any more questions, I'll address them, and if we don't have, we'll
Yeah, so we have another question. Someone has asked that will there be a limit to the number of times we can watch a particular video in the app?
Okay. The thing is that there is not going to be any like practical limit on the number of videos that you can watch, but definitely there is going to be vigilance whether your account is being shared by anyone or not. You can go through our terms and conditions. There is a fair usage policy, as you know. So if you are a subscriber and you let your account to be used by more than one people, that is more than you, then that might lead to some problems. We might issue you a warning. We don't want to stop your access to the app and stop you and stop you from watching videos, because we don't want this to come into your way of preparation. But please keep this in mind that this is not allowed, and we have like features to detect whether you are using or someone is using the app simultaneously from more than a device or so. So I think there aren't any more questions. So that's it. I wish every one of you all the best for your preparation. Please be safe. Please be at home. Like I have mentioned, you can learn everything from your home also. Definitely it is not the priority, but you have to adjust to the situation as and when it occurs. And your college might reopen maybe in August, maybe in September, we don't know. We are also sort of, there's news that a second wave of COVID may come in November. So we don't know about these things. Everything is uncertain as of now, but definitely that doesn't stop your preparation. So go about your preparation. We are with you, we have your back. And definitely we would conduct more such live seminars in the future so that we can interact okay, and you can feel more confident about the final MBBS exam, because confidence is one of the most important things that is needed when you go to the final MBBS examination. So please be safe, be happy, be healthy. Thank you so much for attending the session. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.